These are the 5 most common reasons why your calorie deficit isn't working and exactly how to fix them. Over the last decade, myself and my team have helped thousands of clients lose body fat and keep it off, and we've also seen every mistake possible, and these are by far the 5 most common reasons why your calorie deficit is not working. Number 1 is you simply may have figured out your deficit wrong, and the most common way is by overestimating your energy output. For example, you can see here on our macro calculator, if we select active, but really we don't do as many steps as we think and we should have selected lightly, then we are overestimating our starting point by about 257 calories. Even if we did moderate, we're still out by roughly 132 calories every single day. These calories can add up quite fast and slow down your progress a lot and make it so slow that it doesn't even feel like you're getting progress, and that might be why you think your deficit isn't working. If you feel like you have done this, then I would just simply go back and figure out your starting calories again, and you can simply use our one. I'll pop it in the description below. It's completely free, or you can just simply use one off Google as well. Number 2 is what I like to call sneaky calories. This is so common you wouldn't believe, and 95% of the time you're doing it subconsciously, so you're not even aware that you're doing it. Sneaky calories is what I like to call it. It basically means untracked calories that are finding their way into your days and weeks, pushing your calories up, and then therefore you're thinking you're not in deficit, or you're not in a deficit because of these things are coming in. They're actually ruining your calorie deficit, and therefore you're not making progress. So you think the deficit isn't working. Now, the most common ones that we see, this happens all the time, is oils, sauces, and coffees. Let me show you. For example, if you get an almond coffee, an almond latte, flat white, cappuccino, whatever, is probably going to be around about 90 calories. Now imagine you have, 1, 2, some people even have 3 or more of these per day. Those calories can rack up really fast. And if you get oat milk or full cream milk, it's going to be more than 90. An oat latte is what I had this morning. It's about 150 calories. Now the next most common one being sauces. Of course, you can get low calorie sauces, which we're going to run through, but some of the calorie dense ones, like for example, this special burger sauce, even one serve of this is just over 100 calories. And this stuff right here, the Hans garlic aioli, this is 153 calories every single serve. So as you can imagine, if you're in a 400, 500 calorie deficit, and you're putting some of these sauces on your lunch, maybe a bit of that one on your dinner, having a coffee or 2 per day, just there, that's your calorie deficit gone. And now you're thinking it's not working. And the last one, the most common one that we see, is cooking oil. So 1 tablespoon or about 15 ml of olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, whatever, is around about 122 calories. So if you're cooking in a couple of those per day, that's also adding a couple of extra 100 calories every single day. Now these things come into your days and weeks so easily without you even noticing, because a lot of the time it's a habit. It can be a habit to cook in oil, it can be a habit to have coffees, and it can be a habit to put sauces on foods. Now, I'm not saying don't do these things, because these things obviously help you stick to the deficit, but we just need to be smart about it. Now, what I mean, for a first example, instead of olive oil, now of course you can have any of this stuff, track it into your calories. That would be the first thing, making sure that you're aware of it, which hopefully you are now. Or what I highly recommend, this is what we do with a lot of our clients to save calories, get something like olive oil. You can keep that out and you can cook with some low calorie spray. This is going to be like 5 to 10 calories each time you cook. So you're going to save, you're not only going to save tons of calories, which means you can eat more food, you're also going to be a lot more diligent. And if you do forget to track, it doesn't matter, because it's 5 to 10 instead of the sauces. Let me show you. For example, we still want to use sauces and condiments because it makes your food taste 10 times better, but you want to be careful of the high calorie stuff. So you could swap the garlic aioli for something like Nando's Peronaise. It's about 35 calories, 35 calories per serve. Stuff like soy sauce, this is great for stir fries and stuff like that. It's about 10 calories per serve. So again, you still want to be tracking that into your daily calories, into your meal plan, but even if you did forget, like 10 calories and 30 calories isn't going to be as bad as 150. And then lastly, of course, with your coffees, let's be real, we're not taking out our coffees because we're not sadistic. You just want to make sure you track them in. And if you're not that fussed on what milk, you could swap like full cream and oat milk and stuff for almond, or like long blacks with dashes of milks, and you're going to save so many calories there as well. Number 3 is incorrect tracking. This one is different from sneaky calories because you are actually tracking them into your day. You might just be doing it wrong. Now, the most common way we see this is when calorie tracking apps give you incorrect data, which to be honest happens all the time. For example, when I used MyFitnessPal and scanned this barcode of this coffee, this dare iced coffee, the calories were out by like 50%. As you can imagine, if you did that a few times, even a few times a week, it can be throwing your calories way off, and it's probably going to make you feel like you're not in deficit because you're not seeing the progress you want to. There's a few fixes to this and to make sure it's not happening to you. So the first one If it is something like that coffee where there is a nutrition label on there, I would simply just double check. So if you do scan with MyFitnessPal or whatever tracking app you're using, that's totally fine. But look at the calories that it gives you and then look at the packaging on the food, the drink or whatever you're having, and make sure that it matches up to what you're tracking into your app. That's the easiest way. The second way, if you're tracking non-processed things or non-packaged foods, so for example, fruits, veggies, lean meats, stuff like that, you can write NUTTAB, N-U-T-T-A-B, and then the ingredient, or you can write USDA, then the ingredient before, into things like MyFitnessPal and your calorie tracking apps. This is gonna be a little bit more accurate because it's gonna be using like the American food database or the Australian and New Zealand food database, which we would hope is gonna be more accurate than whatever else is on there. Lastly, you can simply just cross-reference what you're tracking with Google, as Google can be pretty accurate as well. So if you chuck it in your app and you think, oh, that doesn't seem right, just type it into Google exactly what you're having. It will pretty much give you the amount, and then you can just double check and make sure they're pretty much the same. Number 4 is eyeballing. Now this one is a little bit of a double-edged sword because you don't want to be weighing and tracking everything forever, and you don't have to. But if your deficit isn't working, then I would 100% recommend going back to weighing all your foods and tracking everything 100% accurately, just so you know you're hitting the numbers and you are actually in the deficit that you're trying to be in. For example, if we take something like this Biscoff jar, right? We have 2 tablespoons here. Now, obviously we can see this one is a little bit bigger, but it is literally double the calories. So this is 87 calories, this one here of Biscoff, and this is 174 calories of Biscoff. Now, especially with tasty things like Biscoff and peanut butter, that's so easy to do. Like if you're just eyeballing it and you're not checking, you're probably having a lot more calories than you think you are. Research around this, as far as I'm aware, it's pretty insane. It shows that we can underestimate the calories in different foods and meals from anywhere from about 10 to 50%. And you can imagine 50%, like even 10%, if you're doing that across multiple things, multiple days, multiple weeks, it's gonna make you feel like you're not in a deficit, and it's probably because you're not in deficit and you're having more calories than you think you are. Number 5 is you've just simply hit a plateau. Depending on how long you've been in your deficit for, this can sometimes be the case, and maybe you're not making any of those 4 mistakes we just went through and you actually are just in a fat loss plateau. In this scenario, very, very simple fix. I would simply just recommend lowering your current calories by about 10%. You can do a little bit less, you can do a little bit more. That's usually a sweet spot. Or increasing your energy output. You can do a combination of both, but I'd recommend just picking one to start with. But keep in mind, another common mistake we see is simply thinking you've hit a plateau a little bit too far. So if you are in this category, I would wait at least 1 to 2 weeks of being 100% consistent and compliant to your calories before adjusting them, because sometimes we just get a little bit impatient and we see a few days of no progress and then we want to make adjustments too fast. For example, Alex here, you can see only lost 300 grams in his second week of the deficit and wanted to lower calories, but we kept them the same, and a week after, dropped a full kg. Now you know exactly what to do, and just remember, if you're not losing any more body fat, it's just simply because you are not in a deficit anymore. And if you want to see a real life example and real result of how long it actually takes to lose body fat, then I'd recommend checking out this video here.